Michelangelo was perhaps the greatest artist and sculptor of the High Renaissance period. Both a rival and contemporary of Leonardo da Vinci, the sheer quality and quantity of Michelangelo's surviving sculptures and artwork make him a true contender for the title of Western civilization's greatest artist. Born in Caprese, close to Florence in Italy, in 1475, the hard-working genius did not die until 1564, at the grand old age of 88. A master craftsman by the tender age of 20, it is a rarely recognised fact that Michelangelo was also an accomplished anatomist who began detailed dissections of the human body at the Basilica di Santo Spirito in Florence at the age of only 18. With this in mind, approaching the masterpieces of the great artist Michelangelo from a physiological and anatomical standpoint is not only appropriate, but also necessary, in my humble opinion. The idea that Michelangelo incorporated important anatomical detail in his artwork is becoming more and more acceptable in mainstream academia. Perhaps the most well-known masterpiece that may be viewed with an anatomical eye is the creation of Adam, located on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel in Rome, Italy. In 1990, the Journal of the American Medical Association published an article by Dr. Frank Meshberger. The article suggested that Michelangelo provided a symbolic but detailed depiction of a mid-sagittal section of the human brain in his Creation of Adam masterpiece. This idea is later expanded upon, with more anatomical detail being suggested for the different areas portrayed by the genius artist. The very shape of the cloth that envelops God is thought to resemble the human brain. The left arm of God is said to symbolise the corpus callosum, the mediating mass of white matter that both separates and joins the midbrain and the cerebral cortex. The sweep and angle of the legs of God in relation to the brain is said to match that of the human brainstem, the midbrain, the pons, and the medulla oblongata. A leg of one of the cherubim symbolically protrudes from the shape of the brain. This is thought to represent the pituitary stalk, or the infundibular stalk, a stalk that connects the pituitary gland, or the master gland, to the hypothalamus. If this is correct, it beautifully displays the anatomical experience and knowledge of Michelangelo, as when a human brain is removed from the skull, it comes apart from the pituitary gland, leaving the stalk exposed and the master gland encased in the sphenoid bone, an enclosed and protective structure at the centre of the base of the brain, a structure which some have referred to as the mercy seat. Some even suggest that the dark patch under the arm of the mysterious woman at the centre of the image represents the pineal gland, the gland of light and darkness that regulates our sleep and dream cycles. The woman is thought to symbolise the natural, feminine wisdom of God, or Sophia. Not only do I agree with these anatomical findings, I would also introduce another level to the artistic metaphor provided by Michelangelo. an energetic level. On this energetic level, there are many clues that point to the concept of energy work and self-mastery in the allegory portrayed by Michelangelo. To keep things concise for this video, I would like to concentrate on two particular pieces of subtle symbology that beautifully allude to this energetic interpretation. I will expand on these ideas in later videos. Many of Michelangelo's major works depict his subjects displaying the fire hand gesture. Otherwise known as the triad claw, this hand sign is portrayed in countless works of art throughout Western civilization. It is akin to the Shin hand sign of the Hebrew priesthood. Shin is the 21st letter of the Hebrew alphabet and symbolically represents fire. The fire sign is a symbol for the fire of life, and, on the human level, represents the sacred light held within the nervous system. Bioelectricity. The portrayal of God and Adam with outstretched arms displaying the fire sign may be seen as highlighting the importance of our hormones, chemicals, and bioelectricity in the connection between body and brain, or matter and spirit. From a practical perspective, this hand gesture can be used as an anatomical tool, a useful utensil used in the ancient art of acupressure. The hand sign can be utilized to apply pressure to sensitive energy points on the human body. In this way, we can see that it is not only a metaphysical concept symbolizing fire and life, but also a practical tool to help us access this metaphorical fire through its physical, anatomical application. But the great master did not stop there in his allusions to the energetic nature of the human body and the ways in which to enhance it. In a wonderful display of subtle symbology, Michelangelo portrays the left arm of God, described as the corpus callosum of the brain in earlier research, wrapped around the shoulders of Sophia. We can see that Sophia has her left hand placed on the upper forearm of God, with her index finger pointing to a particular location. This just happens to be a very sensitive energy point of the human body. In the Far Eastern energy tradition, this area is covered by the large intestine meridian. The location alluded to by Michelangelo could relate to the Ku Chi point, or the pool of Chi, or the Shao San Li, or perhaps the Shang Liang. In the Vedic teachings from the Indian subcontinent, this area may allude to the Kupara Mama point, an energy hotspot along the Nadi channels of the upper forearm. This alone would have been enough for me, but when we follow the arm of God, we see the index finger of the left hand clearly pointing to the lower neck and inner collarbone of one of the cherubim. Again, this just happens to correlate with a very prominent and very important energy center of the human body. This location may represent the Qi point, or the abode of Qi from the Far Eastern energy work tradition. In the Vedic system, this area could relate to the lower Matrika Mama point. This important point activates and stimulates the brachial plexus and the phrenic nerve, in my own opinion. The brachial plexus provides movement and sensory information to and from the hands and arms, and the phrenic nerve is vital in our ability to breathe, providing innervation to the diaphragm and enabling us to take long and deep breaths. Both of these sensitive energy points are wonderful for the release and circulation of the creative energy. They help to prevent and dissipate congestion and stagnation in the lungs and chest, and provide relief from pain in the shoulders, arms and hands. The fact that Michelangelo highlights these two particular pressure points is telling. Being a master sculptor and working with heavy hammers and chisels for long periods, the forearms and shoulders must have become painful and tight over time. When Michelangelo painted these energetic release points in his artwork, I believe he highlighted them from personal experience. The genius shows himself to be not only a great artist, sculptor, poet and anatomist, but also a master allegorist, working on many levels: the religious, the anatomical and the energetic. Furthermore, I would also suggest that the green flash of flowing material, which is named as the vertebral artery in earlier research, emerging from the centre of the symbolic brain, an area noted as the pineal gland, represents the release of hormones and vital fluids experienced when working correctly with our personal energy, the creative energy. This, in my opinion, is the manna from heaven of biblical teachings. It is the soma of Vedic law and the ichor or nectar of the Greek gods. In this one beautiful piece of allegorical artwork, the great master Michelangelo provides the onlooker with not only the anatomy of the human brain and its workings, but also the sign for the fire which enlightens it, and the practical means for its ignition, acupressure and creative energy work. Genius.
In Vedic teachings, the magical and transformative fluid, Amrita, is said to leak from the head center when the inner eye is opened. The concept of Amrita is a fascinating subject, rich with mythological, philosophical, and physiological significance. The nectar of immortality, Amrita, is a central element in Vedic stories, particularly in the tale of the churning of the ocean, known as Samudra Manthan in the ancient Sanskrit language. In this ancient text, the gods churn the milk-like oceans in search of the magical rejuvenating substance, Amrita. In Vedic lore, Amrita is more than just a mythical substance. It represents the ultimate goal of life, which is to attain a state of immortality in the spiritual rather than physical sense. The gods stirring and churning the primordial ocean in search of Amrita provides us with a metaphor for the spiritual quest for eternal truth, bliss, and the true potential of the human being. The quest for Amrita is often seen as an analogy for humanity's aspiration to transcend the confines of mortality and achieve everlasting life as spirit. This quest is represented in numerous Vedic rituals and practices designed to harmonize the human soul with the eternal and sacred laws of the cosmos. The philosophical roots of Amrita in Vedic thought are profound. Amrita's concept is closely linked with the soul's journey and the cycles of birth and rebirth. It represents the pursuit of ultimate liberation, moksha, wherein the soul escapes the cycle of samsara and attains a state of eternal bliss and enlightenment. On a physiological level, Amrita is said to be a transformative substance that can be obtained through the ancient practices of self-mastery. In yogic teachings, the practice of Kakari Mudra describes the cutting of the tongue to enable the adherent to stimulate, taste, and enhance the flow of Amrita from the base of the skull. A Hatha Yoga text, the Kakari Vidya, states that Kakari Mudra enables one to raise Kundalini and access various stores of Amrita in the head, which subsequently flood the body. Another text states, licking with his tongue the supreme nectar of immortality, Amrita, flowing there, the yogi should drink, and with a body as incorruptible as diamond, they live for 100,000 years. This is obviously not an advertisement for the cutting of the tongue or any other form of self-mutilation, but rather an attempt to highlight the location from which the sacred fluid flows and the evidence of its utilization within the body in ancient times. The Amrita comes from the head center and may well be the electrified cerebral spinal fluid. Leaking through the porous cribriform plate into the esophagus, the adherent swallows the Amrita into the belly, where it is then processed and circulated around the body. In ancient Greece, ambrosia was the legendary food of the gods, shrouded in the enigma of mythological lore. Comparable to the Vedic Amrita, it was thought to bestow immortality and perpetual youth on those lucky enough to partake of it. The ambrosia, or nectar of the gods, was said to be reserved solely for the divine deities and demigods. Mortals were generally forbidden from its knowledge and its use, and Greek legends often highlighted the consequences for those who attempted to go beyond this sacred boundary. The myth of Tantalus illustrates the error of hubris and its repercussions. In one of the stories of Tantalus, he tries to steal ambrosia from the gods and is punished in the depths of Tartarus by being surrounded by food and drink that he could never consume. Interestingly, this is where we get our English term to tantalize. In contrast to Tantalus, the Greek hero Heracles is given ambrosia by Athena, thus marking his acceptance into the divine realm and highlighting the substance's role in the transformation from mortality to divinity. Ambrosia's transformative power is also evident in one of the legends of Achilles. In this telling of the tale, Achilles' mother, Thetis, anoints him with ambrosia by day and passes him through fire at night to burn away his mortality. This story exemplifies the potential of ambrosia to alter one's being, replacing mortal blood with ichor, the golden fluid that flowed in the veins of the gods. The role of ambrosia in Greek mythology is synonymous with the concept of Amrita in the Vedic teachings. It symbolizes humanity's fascination with immortality and the divine, representing the striving for transcendence and the search for a substance that can elevate one's existence to the realm of the gods. The myths surrounding ambrosia captivate the imagination and provide us with an allegory that can be interpreted in many ways. In the anatomical allegory, the ambrosia, Amrita, or nectar of the gods is the electrified cerebral spinal fluid, heightened and stimulated by creative energy conservation and creative energy work. This vital fluid is said to leak through the porous cribriform plate at the base of the skull when the nervous system and head center is awakened. The magical and transformative liquid then begins its journey down the esophagus and into the belly, where it is transmuted and circulated by the body's various systems. This is the hero's brew of old, the drink of the champions of self-mastery, and the very sustenance of the gods themselves. The secretions from the nasal mucosa and nasal conchae are another possible source for the sacred flow. When the creative energy is conserved and circulated correctly, the oils and fluids of the body begin to flow more freely, and these liquids too are thought to be enlivened with beneficial elements and energies. The cribriform plate is a crucial structure located at the base of the skull. It acts as an important connection point between the outside world and the brain through the olfactory system, our sense of smell. This porous partition is composed of compact bone and contains many small holes called foramina. These foramina allow the delicate olfactory nerve fibers to pass from the nasal cavity to the olfactory bulbs located just above. The plate's location forms the roof of the nasal cavity and lies beneath the frontal and ethmoid bones. Its proximity to the brain, pituitary gland, cavernous sinuses, and hypothalamus makes it an ideal vent for the pressurized and activated cerebral spinal fluid, or the Amrita. From the perspective of the ancient yogis, masters, and adepts of all traditions, this porous bone at the base of the skull must have been an ideal candidate for the access and egress point of the transformative nectar of the gods, the ambrosia, the magical Amrita. There is another Greek legend that tells of the handsome cupbearer of the gods, Aquarius, who is tasked to serve the Greek deities with their restorative brew, the nectar. In the heavens, the constellation of Aquarius spills the waters, and in the age of Aquarius, the ancient knowledge once again begins to flow. And like the return of the rains after a long drought, the old wisdom brings fertile ground for the body, mind, and spirit. In the anatomical allegory, these are the waters of the awakened human nervous system, restored, renewed, and reborn. The Bindu is a lesser-known chakra of the Vedic energy system. Located at the back of the head, where the hair spirals and the occipital and parietal plates of the skull conjoin, the Bindu chakra is a key energy center in the release of the sacred regenerative fluid, the Amrita, Ambrosia, or nectar of the gods. Its position between the Sahasrara and Ajna chakras indicates its importance and its relation to the famous Bindi point, the red spot that decorates the foreheads of many Vedic practitioners, only supports this importance. The term Bindu, much like the Bindi, means spot or point. However, the Bindu chakra is deeply connected to the flow of the magical Amrita, and its true translation relates to the falling of the drop or Bindu Visarga, the revitalizing and transformative Amrita. Both the Bindu and Bindi are said to be the point around which our personal mandala is created, the mandala of our lives, and the creation of the universe as we see it. Brahmins and yogis and many other adepts and masters from other traditions wear their hair on the Bindu point to enhance their connection and fortify the protection of their personal energy, the creative energy. This is one of the reasons the Buddha is often depicted wearing his famous top knot. It is the symbolic meaning of many of the crowns of Europe and indigenous cultures of the world, and why most saints and holy men are shown with halos in the artworks and frescoes of religious art. The Bindu chakra is associated with Shiva, the destroyer and creator of Vedic teachings, but also with the moon and its phases. The crescent of the new moon is its symbol, and in the anatomical allegory, it relates to the semen of the male reproductive glands. Shiva wears the crescent moon in his hair, representing this connection. The connection to the sacred flow of Amrita and the enhanced energy and capabilities that this connection may bring. When the Bindu chakra is activated, the vital fluid, Amrita, flows into the throat chakra, the Vishuddha chakra, and down into the belly and hips, where it is said to mix within the root chakra, Muladhara, stimulating the rising of the Kundalini energy along the Sushumna channel at the center of the spinal column. This revitalization of the nervous system can awaken the glands at the center of the head, leading to the activation of the Ajna, or third eye, and Sahasrara, or crown chakras. This process is believed to bestow the practitioner with the famous Vedic Siddhi superpowers, enhancing intuition, spiritual insight, and a deeper connection to the divine. These magical powers are said to make the practitioner more sensitive, enabling subtle psychic abilities like telepathy, precognition, astral projection, and more. This teaching is, of course, metaphorical and symbolic, as with all good mystery traditions, but it holds deep and accurate anatomical, physiological, mental, and spiritual truths. The Amrita, Ambrosia, or nectar of the gods is the activated, electrified, ionized, and vivified secretions and cerebral spinal fluid of the body. Its stimulation and release from the head center and other glands of the human system initiate the awakening of the inner eye, bringing increased health, improved well-being, and enhanced cognitive abilities. This is the Great Awakening.